Welcome back to Writing Done Right. Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the options you have to write and collaborate with your book. Just as a way of introduction, there's a few things that I've seen recently I've not had a chance to test yet that I'd like to go ahead and test out if I can. And what we want to do here is I just want to give you a few options, a few ideas, tell you what I use and why I use it. Of course, no big surprise, it's going to be LibreOffice, but that's what we're going to talk about in this video today. So thanks for coming back to Writing Done Right. I am Thomas Murosky, an author, a content creator, and a free and open source Linux guy. But don't worry, there's stuff in here for other operating system and software users as well. And today we want to talk about writing your books, collaborating your books, and things like this. This is a neat idea as I'm working right now with an author getting her book published, and she's sharing me the document on Google Docs. That is obviously one way people can write their document on Google Docs. You can write your document on your computer. I mean, I've actually had somebody send me a document once as a text file. There's a lot of things there. I would not recommend the text file. There are a few issues with that. I'm like, this will take some time to mess with. But that being said, there are indeed some options that we have when we're discussing where and how to write your book. So, of course, let's talk first about desktop applications. A desktop application I would define here as your old classic word processor. It is offline. You write your document and you're saving it on the hard disk to your computer. This type of thing has started to roll out as cloud infrastructure has taken over the world. I am not a huge advocate of cloud infrastructure. The reason it is somebody else's cloud, somebody else's computer. There are privacy implications with storing your information up there. For example, Grammarly for a long time, they had a point in their terms of service that you are agreeing to let them scan and analyze your content to push ads or to sell data about you. That has since gone. That is no longer a thing, but that's the reason why I endorse Pro Writing Aid instead, and I have an affiliate link on the website for Pro Writing Aid. They are like Grammarly, but they don't do any of that stuff. Now, with that being said, an offline system is your first place. This is classically, you had your Microsoft Office, maybe you had your Microsoft Works, there was Lotus back in the days, a lot of different things and ways that you can write a document. Basically, if you buy a brand new computer and you have not purchased any other software anymore, there's not a real word processor way. You would be stuck with the text files, maybe a rich text file in Writer, if that's still included in Windows. I'm not sure if it is, but these are some of those options that you have. So of course now you need to get some extra word processing software. It's going to have grammar checks, it's going to have sentence structure checks, it's going to have spelling checks and things like this. So where do you go? Obviously, one of these is LibreOffice. This is the one I personally prefer. It is a free and open source application available for any type of desktop. I personally use Linux. You can get it for Windows. You can get it for Mac. On my Mac and on my Windows systems that I have around just for testing things for clients, I have LibreOffice installed on those because I'm not paying for the Microsoft Office on a computer that I don't use. Now, I do have an old Windows computer that was my old work computer from a long time ago before I switched over, and on that I did have the full paid Microsoft Office suite, all in offline, not of the Office 365 online variety. Of course, there's OpenOffice. LibreOffice is a fork of OpenOffice, meaning that OpenOffice kind of started. And the reason LibreOffice kind of took the lead in that sphere is that OnlyOffice really hasn't been actively developed for a long time. It's still there. They'll push out some security bugs and security fixes from time to time, but for the most part, it doesn't actually have your a lot of the newer features that you will find in a more modern and up-to-date Office suite. Now, another one, of course, we mentioned Microsoft Office. This is the old standard. It's going to cost you a licensing fee to use it. You buy it, you download it, install on your computer, and then you can save files. Of course, they're trying to get everybody onto the cloud system, and I am completely against that. There's a lot of issues. What if, like, for me right now, I'm traveling around the country in a van, and what if I land on the top of some mountain where there's no internet? Well, if you're relying on Office 365, good luck. You're not going to be able to access some of your files. I think they may have built in an offline mode of sorts, but if your documents are in the cloud that you're editing and you don't have a local copy, you can't work on your book. Whereas if they're on your computer, you can. Well, if it's on your computer, you have to make sure you have a good backup strategy so you don't lose something in the event of your hard disk going bad. Now, there is a new kid on the block in this sphere that is starting to gain some traction. It's worth talking about, and the first time I've talked about it on this channel, and that is called OnlyOffice. A lot of people are jumping out and saying OnlyOffice is the absolute best. I'm seeing this in a lot of the Linux community and things. OnlyOffice is the best suite. I think LibreOffice is still infinitely better. However, let's talk about OnlyOffice. The first thing that they have done right is they have matched how Microsoft Office looks. So a person switching from the paid Microsoft Office, they're going, I want to just switch to something free because I'm not doing enough with documents or whatever else, or money's really tight, all my money's going into paying for gas now, so I need to not pay more licensing fees and let's grab something that's open source, freely allowed to use. OnlyOffice is a good one to switch to because they have matched the toolbar formatting of Microsoft Office. While I prefer the old school method and I prefer the default LibreOffice with the toolbars at the top, a lot of people are now used to the ribbon, and some people have never seen the old toolbar method, and the ribbon is the only thing they've ever known. And so OnlyOffice has the ribbons. It matches that. It claims to support Microsoft Office documents better. I don't know what that means. I think it's a relative term because I, again, have not noticed any real issues with LibreOffice and Microsoft Office. But there is a little caveat because the OnlyOffice team did reach out to me a while ago on the basis that I have a huge Linux channel. They reached out and asked me to look at it, and I looked at it and I said, well, it's not ready. And then they pushed out another big thing and I said, it's still not ready. The reason it's not ready for people who are producing your books. If you're just an author and you're passing your files on to somebody else, OnlyOffice is probably where you want to go. It's going to be more familiar with you. But LibreOffice and the open document type allows you to format the book to export it directly to the printer for distribution. OnlyOffice and Microsoft Office, to my knowledge, do not support those features. So if you're an author just working with a publisher and you're sending the book up to somebody, okay, using Microsoft Office, using OnlyOffice, which will export in the same file format as Microsoft Office, the docx file. If you're just sending a docx file up to your publisher because that's what they've asked for, it's going to work perfectly fine, and you should look into it. And it is available in Windows and Mac. The downside of OnlyOffice on this is their website is excessively confusing. They have tons and tons and tons of options all over the place. They're going to feed you into like this enterprise thing, which is like $1,200 for an enterprise license and stuff like this. And the average person might look at this and go, what, $1,200? I'm going to stick with Microsoft Office for a while. So these are the things you think about. So if anybody from OnlyOffice is watching this, please fix your website so it's easier for people to understand what's going on. But go up to the get option. I'll go ahead and show some screenshots here just so you can kind of see where to get it. But you want to go down and grab the workstation version. And then there you'll be presented with a series of links for various different forms of Windows computers and Mac. Of course, Linux computers are not listed there because OnlyOffice is probably in your repository, or it's available as, I know it's available as a snap, and it may be available as a flat pack. I don't remember. So there are some options. LibreOffice is a lot better in this respect. There's a big download button and you select your option and you're good. But OnlyOffice is the new kid on the block. Now, OnlyOffice is also trying to bridge the gap into the cloud infrastructure. They're trying to be a competitor to Google Docs and Office 365. And this is why their site has become so confusing, where there's a lot of things. LibreOffice allows the same cloud infrastructure, but they do it through a separate system called Calibora. And that is easier to follow what's going on. They're not trying to integrate everything into one thing and assume everybody wants a cloud-based word processor. And that's what I don't want, a cloud-based word processor. I want a desktop-based word processor. And so, as you are looking at the cloud options, OnlyOffice does allow you a lot of cool features. They do have a free personal account. It says for non-commercial use. Technically, a book is a commercial use, and I wanted to reach out to the OnlyOffice community and ask, hey, what about using this personal cloud one? Could you write a book and sell it? Because it's unclear to me the way their site is set up, because it specifically says in their personal, free, non-commercial. And if you're writing a book and selling it, that is immediately commercial. Technically, OnlyOffice is under a GPU license. And so it technically, at least the workstation one, they cannot restrict what you do to it. But the online one they're trying to push you to is a cloud infrastructure, and that they may be able to restrict your use. But you do have that option. Also, though, if you're a more security hardened guy and you are working with Nextcloud or even those, this is a new feature. I'm going to look into this in the future. There is a WordPress integration on OnlyOffice, and I want to look at it. And I want to show you guys to see, because I realize a lot of you guys might have WordPress websites. Well, what if you can get a WordPress website and get a link in and literally go into your author website and write your books using your website's database as your backup for your files? Wouldn't that be cool? I think that's what this allows you to do, but I need to verify that. It's brand new, no reviews on the plugin yet, but I'm going to mess around with it because I am a WordPress expert. So we're going to go ahead and look at that in a future video. That being said, the next thing we're going to talk about is with Office 365 and Google. These two, I'll put them together. They're effectively the same services. One of them you're giving your data to Microsoft, one of them to Google. I do not like giving any of my data to any of these big companies, especially companies like these two that primarily use the data for advertising and marketing purposes. That's why I do not use those services. That being said, they're not horrible services. I might interface off of them from time to time if I just need to share a document with somebody. I'm not likely to be putting my books on Google Drive to pass them to somebody, especially since I have my own Nextcloud instance that can do the exact same thing. And that's all controlled by servers that I own. So that is, though, your other option. If you're looking at cloud infrastructure to share your documents, to collaborate online, maybe you have an agent or an editor that needs to be able to access those. Your three big options right now, I guess four big options. LibreOffice has Calibora. OnlyOffice has a variety of suites, self-hosted and their own hosted. They also have enterprise business accounts that are like $2 per person per month, which is actually quite a bit cheaper than Google and Microsoft do. Of course, you have your Google Docs and your Office 365 as other options as well. And all of these options will allow you to write your books. The desktop ones allow you to write your books, maybe format your books if you're using LibreOffice, and then you can take that file and email that to somebody. The cloud infrastructure allows you to work on the book online and then simply share a link to somebody else. Now, I'm going to give you a little warning about those, the ones with the links. If you set that up wrong, you could actually open it up in such a way that anybody with the URL could see and download your book. So you have to be careful with that. The best thing to do, and Office 365 and Google Docs and Nextcloud with Calibora on LibreOffice, and I'm very sure OnlyOffice will do this as well. I just haven't used the OnlyOffice online yet. They will all allow you to do the free link or have you tie in with a password, or in the terms of Google and Microsoft, they have to log into their Google or Microsoft account in order to view the file. And then you can set certain people to allow them to have access or not allow them to have access as you see fit. So those are the things that you want to do. So let's go ahead and wrap up a brief summary. two ways of accessing your document files. You have on the one hand your workstation, which is an offline application. This is what I highly recommend. Just make sure you have a good backup strategy, either USB drives or backing it up to a cloud service of some form or another, preferably something encrypted. But your desktop workstation's very good. My preferred preference in order is LibreOffice, then OnlyOffice, then maybe Microsoft Office. And then your cloud-based infrastructure, I personally am using a LibreOffice Calibora instance on my own Nextcloud server. OnlyOffice allows you to do the same thing through a few free and a few paid options, depending on how you want to do it. Of course, you have your free and your paid options through Google Docs and through Office 365. So these are all ways that you can use the different tools in your ways. Of course, if you're a publisher, as a publisher, just email me. The document is just fine. Or you can link it through Google Docs. I've had people just send them through Google Docs. That's fine. I'll just download it in the format that I need. But these are the various tools you can use. I prefer the offline. I prefer the online only if I have to do collaboration or passing those documents to somebody else. But hopefully you've learned something here. You've learned about some other options. If nothing else, have a look at OnlyOffice as well. Not my personal cup of tea, but it does have some great selling points for it, especially as a good free and cross-platform suite. Go have a look at it. It's pretty cool if you haven't. Go ahead and put a link to LibreOffice and OnlyOffice down below. You can find that Microsoft and Google stuff that I don't like anyway. Anyway, well, thanks for watching, everybody. You can head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/TOMM if you'd like to help support the channel over there. WritingDoneRight.net, where I will have a little bit of extra information, affiliates, support options, and things like that over there. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope that you have learned today how to get your writing done right.